This is not a financial advice. Please, consult a licensed specialist before taking actions. In the last 6 years, nearly 16,000 New Yorkers moved to Miami. Nothing unusual there, right? People move all the time. Except, these weren't just any New Yorkers. They brought with them $6.1 billion in income. That's billion, with a B. And here's the part that should make you pay attention. Miami's millionaire population has exploded by 94% in just 10 years. West Palm Beach? Even crazier. 112% growth, while New York's millionaire count limped along at 40% growth. Miami quietly became the 5th fastest growing wealth hub in the entire world. So what's really happening here? Because this isn't just about sunshine and palm trees. This is about something fundamental changing in how wealthy Americans think about where they live and where they build their wealth. Let's unpack this, because the answer reveals something crucial about money, taxes, and the future of American cities. Here's what nobody tells you about wealth migration. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Imagine you're a successful entrepreneur in New York making $5 million a year. Feels good, right? You've made it. Now let's do the math that wealthy people obsess over. Federal tax. About 37% on income over $600,000. That's baseline. Everyone pays that. But then New York hits you with state income tax, up to 10.9%. NYC tax, another 3.87%. Estate tax kicks in at $6.94 million. You keep $2.8 million. Now here's the same person in Florida. Federal tax, $1,650,000. Same, can't escape Uncle Sam. Florida state income tax, $0. Florida city tax, $0. Florida estate tax, $0. Florida capital gains tax, $0. You keep $3.35 million. That's over $500,000 extra every single year. Forever. And this is where it gets interesting. Because the math we just did, wealthy people figured this out around 2019. Then COVID hit, remote work became normal, and suddenly the only thing tying them to high-tax states was nothing. But here's what most people miss about why Miami specifically became the destination, and not just any no-tax state. Because Texas has no income tax, so does Nevada, so does Wyoming. So why did Miami specifically see nearly 39,000 millionaires move there, while other tax-free states got a fraction of that? Wealthy people don't just optimize for taxes. They optimize for what I call the lifestyle ROI. And Miami cracked the code on something no other no-tax state could offer. It feels like a global city. You can't get direct flights to Europe from Dallas. Austin doesn't have Art Basel. Vegas doesn't have a financial district where Goldman Sachs, BlackRock, and Citadel are all setting up massive offices. Miami sits at the intersection of Latin America, North America, and Europe. It's the unofficial capital of Latin America for business. When a billionaire from Sao Paulo or Buenos Aires wants to base their family office somewhere with infrastructure, culture, and critically stability, Miami is the obvious choice. And here's something that surprised even real estate experts. Despite the surge in millionaire migration, Miami is still cheap compared to other global cities. According to Knight Frank's 2025 Wealth Report, for $1 million you can buy Monaco, 19 square meters, about 200 square feet. New York, 366 square feet. London, 366 square feet. Miami, 624 square feet. You get almost twice the space in Miami compared to New York or London, and triple what you'd get in Monaco. But there's a deeper layer here that explains why this isn't just a temporary trend. Miami spent the past decade deliberately building the infrastructure that wealthy families actually need. Top-tier private schools? Check. World-class healthcare? Built. Cultural institutions? They lured major galleries and museums. Professional sports? They've got NBA, NFL, soccer, even Formula One now races through the streets. 15 years ago, wealthy families would say, "Miami is fun for vacation, but I can't move my family there. There's nothing for the kids to do, no good schools." That sentence doesn't exist anymore. But this migration created something else. Something nobody really predicted. When enough millionaires move somewhere, the money industry follows. Goldman Sachs announced they're moving a major division to Miami. Citadel, one of the world's largest hedge funds, moved their headquarters from Chicago. BlackRock opened a massive office. JP Morgan, Thoma Bravo, Apollo Global Management. The list keeps growing. And here's why this matters. These firms employ thousands of high-income professionals. Portfolio managers making $500,000 to $5 million a year. Traders, analysts, they all need to live somewhere. So developers started building, and building, and building some more. Miami condo prices have risen 104% in the last 10 years. The median condo price went from $215,000 in 2015 to $437,450 in 2025. But here's where the story gets complicated, and why this transformation has a dark side nobody wants to talk about publicly. When billionaires move to a city, they don't clean their own homes. They don't serve their own food at restaurants. They need teachers for their kids, mechanics for their cars, construction workers to build their homes. All those service workers, they're getting priced out. While the millionaire population surged 94%, the essential workforce teachers, nurses, police officers, service industry workers saw housing costs more than double while their salaries barely moved. This is the paradox nobody's solved yet. Miami is becoming a tale of two cities. One for the global elite, another for everyone else trying to hang on. But let's zoom back out, because understanding this migration teaches us something bigger about wealth and how it moves. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. When one wealthy person moves for tax reasons, they tell their friends, then their business partners, then their family. R360, an exclusive club for ultra-wealthy individuals with an average net worth of $400 million, reported that their Florida membership has spiked in recent years. These aren't just individuals moving. These are entire social networks relocating together, and each person who moves brings more than just their income. They bring their business, creating local jobs, their investment capital flowing into local real estate, startups, businesses, their spending, luxury goods, services, restaurants, their networks attracting more wealth. Over 1,700 young professionals earning over $200,000 moved to Florida in 2024 alone. These aren't retirees looking for warm weather. These are 30-somethings and 40-somethings in their prime earning years. They're bringing their careers, their ambition, and their spending power for the next 30 to 40 years. But here's the critical insight that wealthy people understood first. This isn't about Florida or Miami being inherently better. It's about having optionality. Once remote work proved you could run a company from anywhere, location became a choice again. And when you can choose, why would you voluntarily pay an extra $500,000 a year in taxes for the same lifestyle? The pandemic didn't create this trend. It accelerated something that was already happening. It gave people permission to make a choice they'd been thinking about for years. And that's why this matters, even if you're not a millionaire yet, because this migration is fundamentally reshaping American cities and where economic opportunity lives. So what happens next? Miami's infrastructure is racing to catch up with this wealth explosion. But they're facing challenges that no amount of money can immediately fix. Climate change. Miami is literally on the front lines. Rising seas, stronger hurricanes, flooding risk. Wealthy families are building climate-resilient homes, but that only goes so far. Traffic. The city wasn't built for this population density. Commutes that took 20 minutes now take an hour. Affordability crisis. If service workers can't afford to live near their jobs, who serves the coffee, teaches the kids, fixes the cars? Florida passed the Live Local Act in 2023, trying to incentivize affordable housing. But it's not keeping pace with demand. And here's the big question mark hanging over all of this. Florida's zero income tax isn't guaranteed forever. If the state suddenly needed revenue and implemented an income tax, would these millionaires stay? Or would they move again? Some wealth advisors believe we're seeing the beginning of a more mobile wealthy class. People who see location as a strategy, not a permanent decision. You might live in Miami for tax optimization from 30 to 50, then move to New York when you want cultural immersion in your 50s or 60s, then back to Florida for retirement benefits. The ultra-wealthy are increasingly operating like multinational corporations, optimizing every variable, including physical location. So after diving through migration data, tax policy, and the complete transformation of Miami, what should you actually take away from this? Because most of you watching aren't managing $50 million. You're trying to figure out your next career move, where to buy a house, how to optimize your own finances. Here's what matters. First, location is becoming a choice again. Remote work gave everyone optionality, not just millionaires. If you're earning good money in a high-tax state and your job can be done remotely, you now have the same decision wealthy people made 5 years ago. Second, understand the true cost of where you live. It's not just housing. It's taxes, cost of living, opportunity cost. A $100,000 job in New York might be worth less after taxes and expenses than an $85,000 job in Miami with lower taxes and cheaper living. Do the actual math. Most people don't. Third, pay attention to where money is flowing. Wealth creates opportunity. Financial firms in Miami are hiring. Tech companies are opening offices. When capital concentrates somewhere, jobs and opportunities follow. Fourth, but don't blindly follow the herd. Miami works for some people. It's terrible for others. Maybe you value proximity to family over tax savings. Maybe you need a specific climate. Maybe you're in an industry that only exists in certain cities. The point isn't everyone should move to Miami. The point is, think strategically about location as a financial and lifestyle decision. And finally, the biggest takeaway. Wealthy people are optimizing variables you probably haven't even thought about yet. Not because they're smarter, because they have advisors who think about this stuff full time. State income tax, capital gains treatment, estate planning, cost of living arbitrage. They're running the full calculation while most people just live somewhere because they always have. You don't need to be a millionaire to think like one. If this video changed how you think about location and money, hit that subscribe button. I'm breaking down how wealth really works every other week, translating what the ultra-wealthy do into decisions regular people can actually make. Drop a comment telling me, would you move states to save on taxes? Or is there something keeping you where you are? I read every comment and respond to as many as I can. And if you want to go deeper, I've put a free resource guide in the description with state-by-state tax comparison tool, cost of living calculators, remote work industries analysis, links to every study mentioned in this video. This is not a financial advice. Please consult a licensed specialist before taking actions. Thanks for watching. Whether you move or stay, at least make it a strategic decision.